This week you've been in Alice Springs with Senator Nampijinpa Price. Is there any sense of hope at all? I know Malarndirri McCarthy is saying whatever happens next has to happen on a bipartisan basis. The nation, the parliament needs to come together in dealing with Indigenous disadvantage. From those you've spoken to in Alice, is there any sense of hope a year on from that huge loss for the Voice proposal?
No, it's been a wasted year and there's been no action on the ground. Even the $250 million that was pumped into or promised to Alice Springs hasn't actually hit the ground. Only some of it has. And there's a growing level of frustration that they're simply getting on with the job without the federal government. And the government talks about bipartisanship. I mean, this hasn't been a victory lap for me and Jacinta. We're here to listen and to make sure that we put forward tangible solutions. And in fact, after the Voice, the very first week after the Voice referendum, Peter Dutton and I went to Parliament. We moved two motions. One, that we have a forensic audit into Indigenous spending, the $4-5 billion that's been spent every year. And secondly, around a Royal Commission into child sexual abuse here in Central Australia. The government's ignored it, said no, but then for 12 months has done nothing but sulk. And then the new minister has said, well, let's have a bipartisan approach, but calls a meeting with less than 24 hours notice. This is far more complex than just saying, turn up today. We need to sit through this, and they need to show some intent. Unfortunately, this government hasn't shown any intent. And I think there's also a way that Jacinta is talking about, and I heard here, is that there is need for reform of the land councils, that they are holding back the economic prosperity of many central Indigenous Australians in being able to get economic prosperity. And we should have the courage to stand up and make reforms. And that's what Jacinta and I talked about here and was taken on board by many of their elders.
Well, that's good. And the one thing certainly that Malarndirri McCarthy is right about, there needs to be a cohesion or a unity of purpose, because it's such a diabolical area in the first place. You need everyone working together on it. Can I ask you, before you go, I know you've got to get on a plane, but a lot of discussion, and it's a very different topic. It's not as, doesn't have the same importance as what we've been talking about, but still, the optics, your colleague Jane Hume says the Prime Minister's been tone deaf with the purchase of that new pad up on the central coast of New South Wales. What's your thinking?
Well, I think he saw a opportunity and bought a steal of what most real estate agents are saying. But, you know, he's planning for his retirement while we're working on Australians' cost of living. I think he's more interested in what it looks like after he's finished as Prime Minister, and by popular demand, hopefully in 6 months he'll be using that property, because I think that's what Australians are getting frustrated at, is that this government has blamed a lot of things for this cost of living crisis when it's actually been them. They haven't been focused on it. The Prime Minister's thinking more about his latter years than he is about Australians' cost of living crisis now. I think that's the challenge that Australians are waking up to the Prime Minister, and there's a fair bit of buyer's remorse.
David Littleproud, talk to you soon. Thanks.
Thanks for having me.